Merci beaucoup Jean FREMON pour cette lecture. Donc nous allons continuer la lecture avec Bill Berkson, qui est écrivain, poète et critique d'art. Bill a écrit de nombreux livres, a collaboré avec de nombreux artistes comme Joe Brainerd, Alex Cass, George Neiman, entre autres. Les écrits sur l'art de Bill Berkson ont été rassemblés en 3 volumes, The Sweet Singer of Modernism and Other Art Writings, publié en 2004, Sudden Address, publié en 2006, et For the Ordinary Artist, publié en 2010. Le volume de ses poèmes choisis, Portrait and Dream, publié en 2009 par Coffee House Press, a reçu le prix Balcones du meilleur livre de poésie en 2010. Et en français, on peut lire Les parties du corps, donc publié en 2010, il me semble, aux éditions Jocaseria, dans une traduction collective. Je cite tous les traducteurs maintenant, je ne les reciterai pas, ensuite ça serait fastidieux. Traduit donc en français par Omar Berrada, Vincent Broca, Vincent Dussol, Abigail Lang, Clément Audard, Martin Richet et Béatrice Trottignon et moi-même. Et récemment, Bill a publié Repeat After Me is one of your last books, et Lady Air. Repeat After Me.
Yes.
Oui.
Not an exit.
Et Not an Exit, voilà. Bill Berkson.
Okay, so shall we begin with
Sure.
what you have from there?
Yes.
Slow Swirl. The first is a poem. The title comes from a painting, and actually a very large drawing, which you can see at the Museum of Modern Art, by Mark Rothko, called Slow Swirl at the Edge of the Sea.
Donc le titre du poème que va lire Bill vient du titre d'un dessin de Mark Rothko qui est au Musée d'Art Moderne de New York. Et qui est donc le titre en français, enfin, sa traduction, Calme remous à l'orée de la mer.
Figures in trees screech, the sun steams, the near air boggles, et voilà, the brooding nimbus. Death, real death, it's an old world custom, a certain semblance of knowing what's what, without which nothing works.
Calme remous à l'orée de la mer, silhouette stridente dans les arbres, le soleil cuit, le presqu'air est phare, et voilà, le nimbus chagrin. La mort, la vraie mort, coutume du vieux monde, un certain semblant de savoir à quoi ça rime, sans quoi rien ne marche.
And the next poem is also from this book, Repeat After Me. And it's, I can't remember what the original was, but it was somehow prompted by I don't even know if it was one of the Maximes, if that's how you say, somehow the sayings, or something that François de Rochefoucauld wrote. And then I wrote this, and would it be good with this to go?
Sure.
Entre Lambalan? It's called Birthday Greetings. To you.
Joyeux anniversaire. À toi.
One of the very few.
L'une des très rares.
Good excuses.
Bonnes raisons.
Ever given.
Que l'on ait trouvé.
For life on earth.
De vivre sur terre.
C'est tout. No, it's too complicated to do. Do you want to try? Try United Nations style translating. Étude.
So many people here know English so well.
Okay,
French
okay,
so
we'll
well.
try this. This is simple. I've been thinking a lot about the effect of the movies on my life and character. That's what they say about people: your life and character. Forget your times. So I was at a dinner party with friends. Connie and I were at a dinner party with friends, and I said something about this business of kissing. And one of our friends, Paul, said he didn't know what I was talking about. I said, so this was for him and his wife Isabel, and it was at Mary and Carlos's. And the poem is called Reprise. Happily ever after, you don't know that feeling? After many difficulties, the two stars are kissing with their eyes closed, and the music swells. The screen says, "The end," in big block letters. Happy ending. You're set for life. In the seats, everyone is choked up, crying for the happiness such prolonged kissing promises. Meanwhile, kissing itself is amazing. I got completely lost in it. I went out and started kissing anyone I could find. Who? I always had good taste in women. So now we'll go into partie du cours. Let's do this one. And let's toward the end.
Oui.
Okay. This is called anhedonia. It's a disease. It's a very common disease these days. It's the inability to experience pleasure. And it has an epigraph which is a little bit mysterious. A conversation between Nicolas Bukharin and Joseph Stalin at the plenum of the Central Committee 1937, which in effect sealed Bukharin's fate. He was going to be killed. But Stalin was an old friend of his, comrade, so to speak. And Bukharin said, "You must understand it is difficult for me to die." And Stalin, who had been silent all day, suddenly went up and said, "And it is easy for us to go on living?" Or maybe the other way around. I've lost the thread. Something about evil days, evil ways, business as usual, the kids, their schools, and the infernal machine. Difficult it is, regardless of what is said or put to writing in the end. Say we do as we please, tacit approval of a faulty transcription, sentence taken down in a kind of rapture.
Bill expliquait que l'anédonie est donc une maladie qui est l'impossibilité d'éprouver du plaisir. Anédonie. Et donc ça commence par un épigraphe qui est donc une discussion entre Bukharin et Staline lors du plénum du comité central en 1937. Vous devez comprendre qu'il m'est difficile de mourir, dit Bukharin. Staline répond, et c'est facile pour nous de continuer à vivre? Ou peut-être l'inverse, j'ai perdu le fil. Quelque chose comme ça l'époque, ça l'esprit, les affaires courantes, les gamins, leurs écoles et la machine infernale. Difficile, certes, en dépit de ce qu'on dit ou met par écrit à la fin. Mettons que nous faisons à notre guise, approbation tacite d'une transcription fautive, phrase consignée dans une sorte de ravissement.
This is called Roots. These poems now, I purposely shuffled the deck in a way so that they're completely out of chronological order, so you're not getting anything like that chronology.
Aucune chronologie. En fait, ce volume, c'est un volume de poèmes choisis de Bill qui suit une chronologie. Pour la lecture, Bill a tout mélangé. Donc, aucune cohérence chronologique.
The people round off this planet in spheres of sharp perfection, prickly, blithe as the jawbone of the spiritualist's peevish ups and downs. However, these bubbles could care less, stuck, I guess, in familiar, gnawing sleep between the lights of droning planes, as the people undress, persuasive and abundant, inside the lens. Its knowing glance forever equals the amazing ability to forget.
Racine. Les gens arrondissent cette planète en sphère de perfection absolue, ombrageuse, joviale, comme la mâchoire d'un spiritualiste, avec des hauts et des bas maussades. Néanmoins, ces petites bulles n'en ont pas que faire, prisonnières, j'imagine, de la tenaille d'un sommeil familier, entre les lumières d'avions bourdonnants, alors que les gens se dévêtissent, convaincants et fourmillant dans l'objectif, son complice coup d'œil, égal pour toujours, l'étonnant don de l'oubli.
The next poem, the title becomes part of the poem, and I just realized that there's a Mondrian in it in homage of Jean FREMON, but it's not a fleur, but it's a Mondrian. Actually, it could be, perhaps, because it says it's perfect. But also I was thinking how the Genji, we went today to the Kabuki exhibition at the Fondation Yves Saint Laurent, and I didn't know that they'd made a Kabuki on Genji in the 1950s. Yeah. Beautiful exhibition. So, blue is the hero, leading with his chin, though bristling with military honor, camp, and ora pro nobis, rolling out the red carpet of chance on a plea that you might give others a front row seat. Lady, take off your hat. So extra special. Other times it would be a roof garden like the one Rauschenberg has, being no Nebuchadnezzar of the bush, or standing on your head, feeling the earth has hung a lawn, and these dogs have come to bite you where it hurts. I wonder if they really caught the scent, which is a poor memory in our symbolist ears of what it must have been like to read The Hound of the Baskervilles for the first time in 1899, oh, truly modern and amused and wrong, before the world, before the cold and the dry vermouth, and everybody started wearing sweaters, taking pills. I confess to a certain yearning for my jeans, in my jeans for those trips, tonics of the drawn shade and rumpled bed, the Albergue delle Palme in Palermo. Instead of hanging on the curb, learning to love each latest gem, fantastic, as the lights go out all over the Flatiron building, which leaves the moon sufficiently fa sol la, and the clouds disentangle a perfect Mondrian, pure gray, to which you give nodding assent, somewhat true. You are that helicopter primping for the climb, into whose bed of historical certainty, the fuel streaming down the sides, like fun in the sun, air in the air.
Bleu est le héros, le menton levé, quoique hérissé d'honneur et de camp militaire, et d'aura pro nobis qui déroule le tapis rouge du hasard, dans l'espoir que tu places les autres aux premières loges. Madame, ôtez votre chapeau, tellement hors du commun. Tantôt, ce serait un jardin sur le toit, comme celui de Rauschenberg, qui n'est pas un Nabucodonosor du buisson, ou la tête en bas, avec la sensation que la terre a suspendu une pelouse, et que ces chiens sont venus te mordre, là où ça fait mal. Je me demande s'ils ont vraiment saisi le parfum, qui est un médiocre souvenir à nos oreilles symbolistes, de ce que ça a dû être de lire Le Chien des Baskerville pour la première fois, en 1899, art vraiment moderne, distrait et dans l'erreur, avant que le monde, avant que le froid et le vermouth sec, et que tous se mettent à porter des sweatshirts, à prendre des cachets. J'avoue avoir dans mes gènes un ardent désir pour ces hallucinations, fortifiant du lit froissé à l'ombre du store baissé, l'Albergo della Palme, à Palerme, au lieu de traîner sur le trottoir, s'efforçant d'aimer chaque nouvelle conquête, fabuleux, alors que s'éteignent les lumières du Flatiron, qui ne laissent que la lune, suffisamment fa, sol, la, et les nuages démêlent un parfait mondrian, gris pur, auquel on fait un signe d'assentiment, presque vrai. Tu es cet hélicoptère qui se pomponne pour l'ascension, vers quel lit de certitude historique? Un filet de carburant coule sur ses côtés, comme merveille au soleil, air en l'air.
Diable Rouge. This is called Red Devil. I think this had a lot to do with those movies too. The Red Devil perched with his sword a little to the left above the profile of Dante on the torn square of wrapping paper pinned to the wall that shows a series of Italian cigar box labels. Dante is one of them, as N. Veo at the tear edge is another. Dante wears his customary, slightly pinched, fierce, fuck you expression, which is not directed at anyone personally, the viewer, but registers inner struggle toward thought and concentration. The Red Devil was one of a string of Italian restaurants around Broadway in the theater district circa 1950, where I used to go for supper with my parents between Sunday movies. It was my favorite for spaghetti and meatballs, and within easy walking distance of the best theaters, the Rialto, Strand, Roxy, Paramount, Capitol, and Loews State. My father had lived and worked in Rome during the 30s. He so enjoyed speaking Italian with the jovial, hefty waiters, and I would have Chianti mixed with water, like a real Italian kid. By the door and on the front of the menus was a Red Devil, the piquant muted red of spaghetti sauce. One time, as we were leaving the place, getting on our coats, there was a tall, stately brunette standing near us, adjusting her mink wrap. She was sexy. I was 12. I froze and gawked. Then I noticed my father looking at her too, with a funny light in his eyes. I don't know which way my mother was looking, but for a split second my father's look and mine clicked, and he gave me a very knowing glance. I felt something slip into place. It was our first shared joke as men.
Diable rouge. Le diable rouge est juché, son épée à la main, un peu en surplomb à la gauche du profil de Dante, sur le carré déchiré de papier d'emballage punaisé sur le mur, où sont disposées en série les étiquettes de boîtes de cigares italiens. Dante est l'une d'elles, et, en vert, sur le coin déchiré, en est une autre, Dante, les traits tirés, affiche un air farouche à un va de fer qu'il n'adresse à personne en particulier. Le regardeur ne peut pas manquer de sentir cette lutte intérieure pour la pensée et la concentration. Vers 1950, le Diable Rouge était l'un des innombrables restaurants italiens à Broadway, dans le quartier des cinémas où j'avais l'habitude d'aller dîner avec mes parents, entre deux films, le dimanche. C'était mon restaurant préféré pour les spaghettis et les boulettes de viande. De là, on pouvait facilement marcher jusqu'aux meilleures salles, le Rialto, Strand, Roxy, Paramount, Capitol et Loews State. Mon père avait vécu et travaillé à Rome dans les années 1930. Il aimait tant parler italien avec les joyeux serveurs costauds, et on me donnait du Chianti avec de l'eau, comme à un véritable petit Italien. À côté de la porte et sur la couverture, des menus étaient un diable rouge, le rouge atténué et piquant de la sauce des spaghettis. Une fois, alors que nous prenions nos manteaux pour sortir, à côté de nous se trouvait une grande brune stupéfiante. Elle ajustait son étole de vison. Elle était attirante, j'avais 12 ans, je suis resté planté là, ahuri. Alors j'ai vu que mon père la regardait aussi, avec une drôle de lumière dans les yeux. Je ne sais pas dans quelle direction regardait ma mère, mais en l'espace d'une seconde, les yeux de mon père ont croisé les miens, et il m'a retourné un regard complice. J'ai senti que quelque chose se mettait en place. C'est notre première plaisanterie échangée d'homme à homme.
It occurred to me again in reference to Jean. We both somehow, I don't know whether it's a blessing or a curse. We spend a lot of time with painting, and so inevitably this gets into the writing. And so this is a poem called An Example Worthwhile. I think what it is that somehow what happens in this poem is what happens in our life, is that painting somehow is another introduction to ordinary life. It's, it's like something we pass through. So, you have that? Mm-hmm. Okay. An example worthwhile. Single point perspective got fudged. The bird in the house flies in the eye of the god, lounging at length across the field, a simple song. One has to envision language, or it's no help, no history backward, lay into life.
Un exemple, peine valant. La perspective linéaire simple a été brouillée. L'oiseau dans la maison vole dans l'œil du Dieu, traînant longuement à travers prés, simple chanson. On doit envisager le langage où cela ne sert à rien. Sache l'histoire à l'envers, fonce sur la vie.
Tiffany's song. Once you've been chided, this is in there, yes? Okay. Once you've been chided often enough for letting your mind stray far from home, the sun rises on durable moorings, squirrel and owl cavort at the loosened collar of the nasty wood. The trees grow straight and tall around the bend, scribbling rent checks to absurd obeisance. At the sight of a mouse, the seasons revert to blended gridlock. Weird mouse. Local authorities have found our ship.
La chanson de Tiffany. Une fois qu'on a été suffisamment réprimandé pour avoir laissé son esprit vagabonder loin de chez soi, le soleil se lève sur des amarres durables. Écureuils et hiboux cabriolent au col défait du bois méchant. Les arbres poussent droit et haut, à l'angle mort, et griffonnent des chèques de loyer à la déférence absurde. À la vue d'une souris, les saisons reviennent à l'embouteillage fondu. Étrange souris. Les autorités locales ont trouvé notre bateau.
Song for Connie. The sun met the moon at the corner, noon in thin air, commotion you later choose to notice. Love shapes the heart that once was pieces, you take in hand the heart in mind, your fate's consistent alongside mine, unless a mess, your best guess, that is right. Thanks, the intimate fact that you elected at corners, dressed or naked, with lips taste full body, time thick or thin, fixated. Love, take heart as heart takes shape, and recognition ceases to be obscure. One line down the center, another flying outward enters.
Une chanson pour Connie. Le soleil a rencontré la lune au coin de la rue, midi en plein air. Bouleversement que tu as par la suite choisi de remarquer. L'amour forme le cœur qui était jadis en morceaux. Tu prends en main le cœur en tête, ton destin est cohérent quand il est à côté du mien. À moins d'être un foutoir, ta meilleure tentative est bonne, merci. Le fait intime que tu l'élises au coin de rue, vêtu ou bien nu, avec les lèvres goutte au corps complet, le meilleur et le pire, transi. Amour prend cœur, comme le cœur prend forme, et se reconnaître cesse d'être obscur. Une ligne bien au centre, une autre s'envolant, elle entre.
Business. Roses are red, the gods favor mostly honey. Those are the gods. Roses are red, the gods favor mostly honey. Containment bars all exit, insofar as the bouncing ball dispenses with unlikely arrival. What horses are to marriage, or a pirate dish of dead man's bones, so is passionate love best compared to a fire, ignited across a calm, reflective stream, yours, as the bright lights spin out of time, as if you had summoned them.
Affaire. Les roses sont rouges, le miel surtout à la faveur des dieux. L'endiguement bloque tout issue dans la mesure où la balle bondissante se passe d'improbables arrivées. Ce que les chevaux sont au mariage ou au plat d'ossement humain des pirates, de même l'amour-passion se compare le mieux avec un incendie qui embrase un flot calme et réfléchissant, le tien, tandis que les lumières vives spiralent hors du temps, comme si tu les avais sommées.
Do we have Costanza in there?
Yes, I think so.
We didn't do that last year, did we? Okay. So this next poem, it, in some respects, it enjoys a lot of footnotes, but it's the story of going to an exhibition of sculptures, portrait sculptures by Gian Lorenzo Bernini at the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, and there was a particular figure that was the sort of the star of the show, and I went with my son to see the show, and we didn't get to see the star, and it's sort of about that, but it's about the star, Costanza, and there's still a certain mystery about what really happened, but a lot of it has been solved by finally this book by a wonderful book by Sarah McPhee, an art historian who teaches in Georgia, who has been studying Bernini for a long time, but then she decided to write a book called Bernini's Beloved, which has just come out from Yale, and I recommend everybody go read it. It's Costanza. A woman has fallen, the museum guard tells us, in a light blue turban plus dark suit and tie required of all the Getty guards. Everyone halted, and Moses and me barred at the door from entering the dimly lit circular room with Bernini's sculpture Costanza Bonarelli, circa 1638, supposedly displayed. The work that was the centerpiece of the show of portrait busts by him and those around him, who learned Bernini's ways, although not one discovered how to make a speaking likeness so direct, of which Costanza's marble countenance is famously the prime example. As per instructions, we backtrack a little for another closer look at the Barberini, Borghesi, d'Este, Albodini, popes and princes, powerhouse nephews, cousins, and great-aunts, Gregorio, Urban, Duchess Isabella, Innocent X. Then, back out again after a while to the doorway, where now more people wait, others more official-looking move like shadow puppets here and there inside. We can see the room has drawings on the walls, a self-portrait on the left, maybe all of them are, or is there one of her? A woman has fallen, the new guard tells us, strong whiff of Slavic accent, 6'1" at least, disconsolate after-hours bodyguard, or KGB. You can't come in, but go around, he waves, one big arm like a log or 2x4. Soon you get in. The far end gallery shows French and English Charles I, Thomas Baker, Richelieu, on each a finely chiseled, pointed, tufted chin. Every facial feature sings, every fall of the cloth, a luscious little aria. Read this later in Holland Cotter's bright review. Clean-shaven as a pope, I try some paternal historical background shading, pontificated to Moses, some oddment about melancholy Charles's beheading, royal treatment, unheard of until his day, intimidating, and next insouciant Richelieu, Dick Cheney of his time, under Louis XIII of France, a nasty schemer, though of a more interesting administrative temperament than merely slimy, grabby vice. Remember the Three Musketeers? Oh, thank you, a woman more or less my age in passing stops. I had almost forgotten about him. Richelieu and the Three Musketeers, the Gene Kelly, Lana Turner, MGM version, perfect, ageless smirk of Vincent Price as the Ashbish Cardinal. Lastly, at the nearby second door, we ask, peering past, but a woman has fallen. The short guard in apologetic Latino shrugs, and if and when the paramedics, this and later for that, how long, don't know, maybe half an hour or more or less. What a circus, a woman has fallen. Fainted, toppled, turned, next thing you know, into a laurel tree. It happens. Now no one. What else? Warm air outside, we had lunch. Can see astonishing Costanza, whom Gian Lorenzo Bernini loved in his late 30s, maybe before, definitely during, probably after 1636, or is it 38? The date of the bust from life. A youthful beauty in a ruffled blouse, writes Sarah McPhee. Costanza was about 24 in Rome with her talented husband, Matteo, from Lucca, so he could work with Gian Lorenzo in St. Peter's on Matilda's tomb. A fierce and sensual woman in the grip of passion. Wittkower's idea of what it meant seems more than a little overly presumptuous looking now at the photograph, striking instead as if astonishment, unself-consciously glancing at, redoubling itself is what one sees. Or else Bernini had just said, look over there, or quick, look at me and hold it. Un poco busto, clothed in a chemise with a ribbon open at the front, her large eyes focused on a distant point, lips parted, face in a tousled crown. Stern by nature, steady in his work, passionate in his wrath, Gian Lorenzo kept the image for himself a year or more. After pausing at dawn, on his way out of town, he saw Costanza in her doorway with his younger brother Luigi, whom he chased down, broke his leg, or a couple of ribs, and rampaging back home ordered a servant, under the pretext of bringing 2 flasks of wine as gifts, to go with a razor and slash Costanza's face, which isn't shown, and not much else about that morning is recorded.
Costanza. Une femme est tombée, nous dit le gardien du musée avec son turban bleu clair et son costume cravate sombre que portent tous les gardiens du Getty. Tout le monde stoppé net et Moses et moi est conduit au seuil de la salle circulaire faiblement éclairée où la sculpture du Bernin, Costanza Bonarelli, vers 1638, est censément exposée. L'œuvre qui constitue la pièce maîtresse de l'exposition des portraits en buste réalisée par Bernin et son entourage, qui assimila sa manière, bien que pas un ne découvrit comment faire une ressemblance parlante, si saisissante, dont la contenance marmoréenne de Costanza constitue, comme on le sait, le meilleur exemple. Tandis que nous retournons sur nos pas, comme on nous l'enjoint, pour observer plus